So, Michael, bad news. No Time to Die has been given a later release date. It's going to be released in November now instead of March because of the coronavirus. So, yeah, this is a big news. It could potentially cost MGM $30 million. And yeah, now you know it's serious, this coronavirus thing, when they're scheduling movies to different dates because they fear not a lot of people are going to go and see it. So yeah, I guess it's optimistic. Like it's only been suspended until November. It's like, okay, by November we'll have this whole coronavirus thing sorted out.
I think we will, to be honest. Usually these things are kind of seasonal. So once the season's over, it's got like 3 months. I'm cooling it.
I mean, it's happening all over the world in different seasons.
Yeah, well, the other weird thing about it is that obviously, in Italy, they've closed down schools because Italians keep dying. And in the UK, I read they're already planning online classes and they're basically moving the syllabus so it can be accessed online, presumably preparing for an enduring period of schools being closed down here. And the crazy thing about closing down schools is once you've done that, you pretty much have to say, okay, we're in this indefinitely. You can't close down the schools because, a couple of hundred people have died. And then when more and more people are going to get it and more people are going to get it, then say, all right, back to school. Which means basically until we get down to the same level that we're on now, and we're on the ascent now, until we get down to this level, all the schools are going to be closed.
But are you scared, Michael?
No, because, here's the thing, okay? Everything I've heard is that it's just as bad as the flu. I had the flu when I went to New York. I think I told you that. I actually contracted the flu while I was there. And it sucked, because New York was very cold.
Sure it wasn't the coronavirus?
Well, it was in January, so I don't know. Unless I was patient zero in America. But it seems to me like the reason why everyone's crazy about the coronavirus is, one, it's just a new thing. But two, because the place where it happened was in urban China. And urban China has really poor air quality. So basically everyone in China is already riddled with respiratory problems anyway because of all the smog they have there, and therefore the coronavirus just pushed loads of people over the top. So it has a really high death rate in China. But I feel like if you're just a normal person who doesn't smoke or
people in China
live in a major city,
well,
really, I suppose nowadays being in a very polluted area is probably the new normal. But
I guess so.
Yeah, it's all in all, it's just a reason why America's just wrong, because they don't have free healthcare, which means that's causing a huge problem because people aren't going to the doctors to get themselves sorted, and they're just going, I'm just going to work because I don't have paid sick leave. And at the same time, they also have these terrible environmental policies. So yeah, America, hopefully lots of them will die because they don't have free healthcare.
Hopefully.
And sorry, God willing, lots of them will die because they don't have good environmental policies and they don't have good healthcare. And then and also think of all the boomers that will die. And then suddenly,
no.
Bernie surge.
This is the thing that we have to keep on the down low. We can't be happy that all the boomers are going to die and Bernie Sanders is going to become the next president because of that. We can't be happy about that.
I like how we're ignoring the fact that Bernie Sanders could. Well, actually, to be fair, I feel like Bernie Sanders I feel like he's kind of, because he's got bodyguards to protect him from.
Exactly, the bodyguards will stop it. The bodyguards will take the corona hit. Anybody who's copying, the bodyguards will jump in front and say Bernie. But yeah, all the voters who wouldn't vote for him. Yeah, so, negatives, No Time to Die, cancel. Positives, Bernie Sanders, the next president of the United States. So, yeah.
Cooling out. Yeah. And whenever we call elections, we're always right.
Oh, for sure.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke. And this week we are celebrating the 25-year anniversary of Sandra Bullock's debut. Is it really her debut, or is it just her first big film? No,
it's not her debut, no.
I thought it was her debut. I thought
her debut, actually, her big role was in Speed, which came out just a few months early prior to this, I believe. So yeah, she was already quite big at this time.
Okay, I really wish we were doing Speed. Tell you what, what's a good film, Luke? Speed. But instead we're doing The Net. So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about The Net?
Sure thing, Michael. So, The Net is a 1995 American cyber action thriller film directed by Irwin Winkler and starring Sandra Bullock, Jeremy Northam, and Dennis Miller. It was written by John Brancato and Michael Ferris. It was released on July 28, 1995. And Michael, can you tell me what the budget is for The Net?
Not too much. Maybe 20 million? 20 million seems kind of normal.
Yeah, 22 million.
Okay, good.
Very close there. And how much did The Net make at the box office?
Well, I know it made more than The Hackers, because that's the reason we're not doing Hackers. So I feel like I remember Hackers got like 50 million, because you were saying, you didn't tell me how much the net made because you had the foresight to not tell me that, but you did say, we're not doing Hackers because it only made 55 million and this made more than that. So I'm thinking it maybe made like double it, 110 million.
Did I not tell you?
You didn't tell me.
Because that's what it is.
Is it really? Is it exactly double? That's crazy. I was just.
I think Hackers only made like 15 though, not 50.
Oh really? Okay, that's funny. That I completely misremembered.
And you got it right because of that.
That's a Homer Simpson right there. I pulled a Homer Simpson.
Wow! Congratulations. Anyway, yeah, very close in the budget, very close in the box office. It's almost like we've been through the relevant numbers before to try and discern whether to do this movie or Hackers.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe subconsciously you were communicating it to me. Or maybe you just told me and I kind of subconsciously forgot, because it is the kind of thing I would do. Subconsciously forgot you told me. Okay.
So, Michael, having said all of that, did you like The Net?
No.
No?
Not really. I mean, I definitely didn't like it. I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it.
Are you glad that I made you watch this movie?
No, actually. I recall saying the words to myself, I hate Luke. I hate him and everything he stands for.
Yeah, so I also didn't like this movie, and I regretted picking it. I'm not gonna lie, I was watching this and I was like, I didn't think it would be this boring. Damn. So anyway, we'll get into that now. So first, Michael, do you have any nitpicks for The Net?
Oh, I love that net picks. Yeah, okay, so I didn't know about this, but I got 9 nitpicks.
Jesus Christ.
Some of them are like, stupid, but other ones are. Yeah, no, I mean, that's just how it is. But, yeah, I got 9. I mean, I was kind of thinking, at least I can have a good old-fashioned CinemaSins episode out of this.
Yeah. Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So
okay, so yeah, you go you 3 or 5 first.
Okay. So my first nitpick, Sandra Bullock orders pizza off a website called pizza.net. Which, yeah, I mean, they got in there. They got there first, so yeah.
On Squarespace.
Yeah, on Squarespace.
Waiting for that sponsorship.
Nobody ever thought of that. Pizza.net. But they came up with it, so congrats to them. Yeah. Next, the British guy, Devlin, he says, clever girl to fucking Sandra Bullock. And I was like, wait, is that ripping off Jurassic Park? And I'm like, yeah, it must be, because Jurassic Park was released like a year earlier to this. So yeah, that must be ripping off Jurassic Park. So that's
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, don't rip off Jurassic Park. Next nitpick, this Cyberbob guy, who of course Sandra Bullock communicates at the start of the movie and then in the middle when she needs help, is also the same Bob as Dr. Champion. Dr. Champion's Bob, because of course Sandra Bullock meets her ex-therapist, Dr. Champion, and Dr. Champion says, hey, I had a guy who, works in the FBI. Well, I knew a guy who works in the FBI. He's called Bob. He'll help you. And that is the same Bob. What are the chances, Michael? What are the chances? Very high.
Not very high. Luke, you're wrong. You're completely mistaken.
Yeah,
the chances are actually quite low.
I should have said what are the odds, and then the very high thing would have made sense. My bad there. Next one. This is quite a big nitpick. So this Devlin guy, right? He's the British guy who's trying to kill Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
He's in Los Angeles, because that's where Sandra Bullock lives. Then Sandra Bullock decides to go to San Francisco to, get the information she needs to bring down this corporation, what they call Gatekeeper or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Devlin, why is he now in San Francisco? Because the imposter who's been impersonating Sandra Bullock phones up Devlin and says, "Hey, Devlin, she's here. She's got the information." And then Devlin shows up, and he's like, "Oh, where is she? Oh, there she is." But he's been in Los Angeles. Why would he suddenly be in San Francisco?
Yeah, I mean, how long's that trip, Luke? I mean, I know it's a decent while because
5 hours on a car.
Yeah,
I'm guessing. Yeah, so I think that's an issue.
It.
Yeah, I think that's an issue there. I'm going to say that's an issue.
Yeah.
Also, then there just happens to be a computer convention going on.
Oh yeah, I kind of thought that was a bit weird. I didn't actually write that one, but
have you got any of these?
You know what? Shockingly, I don't. I've got one which is kind of similar, and also that one's a bit of one of my more silly ones. But yeah, I don't have any of your ones so far.
Yeah, so obviously Sandra Bullock just happens to find a computer convention incredibly convenient for her, so she can save the day. Anyway, so that's it. What are your 9 nitpicks?
Okay, you're like the first one. I always like to start strong. So anchovies and garlic pizza. I'm sorry. That's awful. That's my first one. I mean, that's just not good. Like, you picked up on the site thing, which I actually think was, you were a bit more observant. I was just busy focusing on the fact that she had anchovies and garlic, and that was it. Like, there was nothing else. I was just thinking, do people like that?
That sounds quite nice, actually.
Okay, see, maybe I'm just like, I always feel like anchovies are a strong flavour, and I always feel like they should just be supplementing something else. Like, I like strong, anchovies and nice. Roasted pepper, or, I don't know. It seems very abrasive to me, the idea of anchovies.
They're salty. If you like salty stuff like I do, it's nice.
You like salty stuff.
No, don't say that now.
Number 2, just the weird text-to-speech program. I just found, like, again, it seems like it was just a cinematic thing, so we'd hear it. But I just found it impossible to believe that anybody would have. So, like, people would type in and you just get this robot voice going, like, saying what they were saying. And I was just thinking, no one would have that. That would be really annoying.
I have that.
I believe you. How could the guy who gets killed in the plane? I don't see how he couldn't see the towers, because you see his view and he's able to kind of see things.
Was this 9/11?
Yeah, he can.
Sorry.
He can see in front of him. Like, you can see while he's calling them, he's like looking at some cliffs, and you can clearly discern the cliffs. And then he's on the phone calling, and it's kind of a close up of him. And then it just cuts to him looking at these towers. Again, these quite bright towers against the midnight sky, such that you can see them very clearly as he's flying into them. And I'm thinking, how was he not able to see them? Apart from the fact that the camera wasn't looking at them, so we couldn't see them. How was he not able to see them?
Because, Michael, he's relying on his computer to tell him where to go in the plane. And what is the moral of the story? Don't rely on computers.
I mean, maybe that is it. I don't know.
There you go.
I guess that is true. Computers do mean you don't look out of windows. Why did Devlin's a British guy, right? I just want to clarify.
Yes.
So can we just talk about that name, Devlin? Like, Devlin, that's like up there with Cruella de Vil. Anyway, but...
have you not? I saw this comment about the names in this movie. I don't know how true they are, but like Angela Bennett is like Angel and Benevolent.
Okay, I could see that.
Who else is in this one? Oh yeah, Dr. Champion. His first name starts with an A, so A Champion.
What about
Then you've got Ruthless Marx. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because Marx is pretty ruthless. He is. I
really don't know what Marx would have to do with the character Ruth Marx in this movie.
She's a redhead.
Yeah,
just like red, like communism.
Yeah, maybe that's as far as she'll go.
Anyway,
maybe Dennis Miller wrote that. Who knows?
I like it. Why did Devlin not give her his jacket when she was cold? It's such a weird scene because she's like shivering. She's like, "Oh, I'm cold," and then he like takes out his handkerchief and wraps it around her midriff. And
apparently, that's a reference to another movie.
Oh, is it? Okay,
because another movie, and I can't remember. It's quite a famous movie, and I remember reading it, and I was like, "Oh, that's why he does it." But I forgot which movie.
Okay, because all I was thinking was like, if I mean, obviously, if you're into the whole chivalry thing, because you're a sexist, then if a woman's cold, he's wearing a jacket, and I'm just thinking, and that's all I was thinking. I was thinking like, he's wearing a jacket, but instead he goes for the old handkerchief. I just like that. You're like you're on a date with a girl, and she's like shivering, and you go, you start adjusting your jacket, like, oh, I've got something which will keep you nice and warm. You reach into the pocket, take out a hanky, and just like wrap it around her shoulders.
You're wearing like a big fluffy coat. You just take a handkerchief out of your pockets. There you go. Now you're nice and warm, aren't you?
Mink coat. And just like take out a Kleenex, peel off a single tissue paper, and just place it around her. That'll keep you. Anyway, the fact that the hotel person doesn't even consider the possibility that her checking out is like a technical error. Like I've been to hotels, and I find that hotels, they tend to be quite deferent. And
I was going to talk about this a bit later.
Okay, yeah. If you just showed up and was like, "Hey, there's a problem," they'd be like, "Yeah, sure, I can believe that."
It happens again later on, but yeah.
Yeah, and they probably ask you some security questions. That's what happened to me one time when I showed up at a hotel and said, "I thought people were going to be here, and they're not, so I don't have a key." And then I ended up having to tell them all the details about my mum, every single one. Okay, saying in real life. This is my most kind of internety one. Someone writes IRL and she reads it and then she just says in real life, because obviously the audience doesn't know what IRL stands for. So she has to say it, but she wouldn't actually say in real life. Like I don't really like, I mean, it would almost make more sense if she just read it as in real life. Because I could see someone doing that. They'd be like, come see me in real life. I mean, that sounds a bit weird. It's weird that she'd be reading it to herself anyway. But it certainly makes more sense now going, come see me IRL.
You know what? She's a weird
in
person.
Real life.
Okay?
She is weird. Yeah, that does explain a lot of this. Okay, this one's a weird one, but if he can't find her, or they can't find her when she's with her friend Angie, but somehow they're able to know that she's with Angie because before they know where she is, they, make it so he takes the wrong pills. I didn't get that because she runs away. She meets her friend Angie And then it's very much implied that they have no idea where she is because he's looking for her. He's on the phone saying, hey, can you track her? And as he's saying, like, can you track her? He also says, can you deal with the other thing too? And then they cut to Angie getting his prescription thing dealt. So I'm thinking, how do they know, unless they just happened to be randomly targeting him because they knew he was her close friend? Because they can't know that she's with him because they never see any evidence that she's with him. So I assume they just happened to be targeting him because he's her friend.
Yeah, they must have done some digging and it's like, right, who's this person close to?
Yeah,
well, she's got Alzheimer's, so that's why I'm doing to bother with her. And she had a relationship with this doctor. Okay, well, we'll kill him, so nobody believes. Yeah, maybe that's what they were doing.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, actually, that's another. I just thought about this. Like the whole thing is, he's like nobody can confirm that you're Angela Bennett. And she's like, well, my mum could, but she's got Alzheimer's, but she does have this person who could confirm it. So it just seems a bit strange. Anyway, why is he? Okay, so this one is actually a genuine question. I might be wrong about this. Why is he trying to shoot her if he says that he needs what's in her brain? So basically, he goes to see her at the Ferris wheel, and then the disc has been destroyed. And he's like, okay, this has been destroyed, but we need what's in your brain. So come with me because we need you to do something. And then she runs away, and then she goes on the Ferris wheel, and then he starts shooting at her with the silencer. And I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute, surely he wants her alive.
That's bad screenwriting there, Michael. That's what it is. What else can you say? Or maybe he's just trying to convince her that he's not going to kill her, which again is just you gotta do it better than how it was done.
Yeah. And final one, we're in the home stretch. She just happens to get to the hospital as Angie is dying, and it's not like too unrealistic because I guess you could say, well, she was only out for a couple of hours, but still, I mean, that means she was only out for a couple of hours, and literally the minute she walks in, they're rushing over because he's just dying at that exact moment. So, it's a bit, it's a little thing that's going to happen in these films.
Yeah. Okay, I guess so. Anyway, so those are your 9 nitpicks. Some of them were quite good. Some of them, the fact that someone would order a pizza with anchovies and garlic is apparently nitpick worthy.
I don't know, yeah, maybe it's just, I've always been a kind of a Cajun chicken sizzler kind of guy. And I think we can all agree that's nothing like an anchovy and garlic pizza, so.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, we shall now move on to the plot of this movie, so just to give it a quick summary. There is actually a quick summary on Wikipedia.
Good.
Yeah, I don't really know what to do now, Michael. I'm in open waters now. I don't have a life raft or anything to help me, so I'm just gonna dive in here. So the net, obviously Sandra Bullock plays Angela Bennett. Basically, she's a systems analyst in Venice.
Analyst?
Yeah, in Venice, California, who telecommunicates to Cathedral Software in San Francisco. I'm just reading the plot on Wikipedia here.
Yeah, telecommunicates.
Basically, that's the fancy word for it. She works from home. Her interpersonal relationships are almost completely online and on the phone, with the exception of forgettable interactions with her neighbours and visits to her mother, who is institutionalized with Alzheimer's disease and often forgets who Bennett is. So Bennett's co-worker Dale sends her a floppy disk. Remember those, Michael? Actually,
I do remember floppy disks.
We'll get onto those in a bit. A floppy disk with a backdoor labeled Pi that permits access to a commonly used computer security system called Gatekeeper, sold by Greg Microsystems, a software company led by CEO Jeff Gregg. Dale and Bennett agree to meet, but the navigation system in Dale's private aircraft malfunctions, and it crashes into a tower, killing him. And as you said, Michael, he should have just looked out the window. He wouldn't have died. So then Sandra Bullock goes on vacation. Then she's this guy called Devlin, who's British, tries to kill her while she's on vacation, kind of a James Bond-esque thing. But she survives, and then she wakes up and tries to get back into the United States and realizes her identity has been completely stolen. Yes, identity theft, which again we'll get into later. Then she has to basically bring down this corporation who have stolen her identity. And again, I think, to be honest, it didn't have to go down that way. So the corporation could have, which would be Greg Microsystems, could have, who of course hired these hitmen to kill her, could have just done a deal with her, like, hey, we'll give you your identity back if you give us the disc back.
Yeah, that is a good point.
And also, why don't you come and work for us? How about that? You can, because you're incredibly smart.
Maybe they just knew she was a good guy.
Yeah, well, there's no evidence of her being...
No, they just knew. They read the script.
Oh, right, they read the script. But that's the thing. There's no, on a serious note, there's no actual evidence of her being, good morally. That would have been a nice thing an extra thing in this movie if she had to make a decision whether to join the bad guys or not, because hey, it's if you're in charge of the security system of the federal government, it's a lot of money. You can do some good things there, I'm sure. Be at the top of your profession, really. And so I think they could have, people are always shooting people in movies, Michael, and they just took the time to just sit down and work out, an agreement, a compromise. It doesn't have to be a compromise. It's like a win-win for both sides. And there you go. And then we can have less conflict. I just such a shame.
He didn't like the loud noises.
Yeah. So obviously she manages to succeed in doing everything that she wanted to do, and the bad guys lose, and she wins, and then she goes back to planting flowers with her Alzheimer's inflicted mother in her home in Venice, California. That's the plot. So, Michael, shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's get down to business.
Okay, my first really, really important question with this is, I said before, Angela Bennett's co-worker Dale sends her the floppy disk with the backdoor labeled Pi that permits access to a computer security system called Gatekeeper, software company led by CEO Jeff Gregg, blah, blah, blah. But how did this guy get the disk? It's not explained in the movie. I went back to the start, the first time I watched it, I was like, how did he get the disk? I want to know. I want to know the piece of dialogue, because this is a pretty important disk. How did he just happen to have it? Nobody knows, apparently. He doesn't say. Plot on Wikipedia doesn't say. Sandra Bullock never finds it out. He just happens to have the disk. So
he found it in the sheets of a comic book.
What if there was a whistleblower and the whistleblower had given it to that person, but the whistleblower had also died? And Sandra Bullock found that out as well somehow. How about that?
That would be crazy. I think what you're saying is you want to see the Net prequel.
Yeah, I would love to see a Net prequel. There is actually a Net sequel.
Is there? Oh, great. Maybe it's one of those weird ones where it's better. Sometimes you get sequels that are better. I'm sure it will be.
And a sequel named The Net 2.0, starring Nikki DeLoach as Hope Cassidy and director Charles Winkler, son of Irvin Winkler. Oh, that's nice. The franchise is kept in the family. Was announced in February 2005. It was released direct-to-video in 2006. It was about a young systems analyst who arrived in Istanbul for her new job to find that her identity has been stolen. So not really building on the original there, you have to say. Quite disappointing.
They had so much to work with and they just threw it all away.
Yeah. Brent Simon of IGN rated it 5 out of 10 stars and wrote that because DeLoach does not imbue her character with the same sympathetic girl next door impairment that Bullock did, the sequel is pointless. Oh, that's why the sequel is pointless. Okay. Jeffrey Robinson of DVD Talk rated it 1.5 stars out of 5 and wrote that it is more likely to put you to sleep and keep you on the edge of your seat. Ooh, tough reviews for the Net 2.0. I have to say, I didn't see that coming.
We'll be reviewing that in 2026 or whatever.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, we didn't actually mention we're doing this because it's 25 years since this movie came out. And one of the reasons why we are doing this movie is because, of course, it deals with technology, which we will get onto in a bit. Well,
yes.
Yes, we will get onto in a bit, yes.
Absolutely, we will.
Okay. I just have one more thing to say about the plot, really. Okay, so the whole plot revolves around, how does the movie start, Michael? Do you remember? No, how does it actually start?
Oh, the guy dies from AIDS. Sorry, I was trying to...
Well, he doesn't die from AIDS, does he?
Oh, sorry, he doesn't die from AIDS. I know. I knew what I meant. He finds he thinks he's got AIDS, so he kills himself. That's what I know what he said.
Just before he shoots himself, he dies of AIDS.
that's what you don't see.
Yeah.
It's the twist.
Oh, God,
it's an autoimmune disease, so he was no longer immune to being shot in the head.
I guess so. So the Undersecretary of Defense kills himself. So this guy's a vocal opponent of the Gatekeeper protection thing.
I thought you were going to say the gays.
Yes, well, that's why he kills himself, because he is.
The gays.
He doesn't. He's very homophobic, and if it came out he has AIDS and he's gay, it would ruin his life. So he kills himself. Yeah. But that all makes sense. Then so he kills himself. An opponent of Gatekeepers. This is known, as the news mentions, this is known in the news. And 2 weeks later, Gatekeepers is taking over protecting the federal government from cyber terrorist attacks. All after a string of high-profile cyber terrorist attacks happen in America, in which only stuff protected by Gatekeepers isn't affected. I mean, look, I know in the mid-90s people weren't that conspiratorial like they are nowadays. I feel like people were a lot more trusting of corporations and government stuff back then than they are nowadays.
The economy, stupid.
What has that got to do with what I'm talking about?
Well, it's because they're trusting that things are good, and therefore they're happy.
Yeah, okay. I kind of
like people were more... Whereas, obviously, after the recession, people got more suspicious, and they said, maybe bailing out all these banks is a bad idea.
Yeah, exactly. This is the 2008 recession, right?
Yeah. Not the other one.
Yeah,
not the forthcoming one. That's for true.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah. So I just have to feel like surely somebody could put two and two together. It's like, isn't this all very suspicious? Like the undersecretary dies, and then these people, the gatekeepers, they get a lot of federal government contracts, and then obviously, they're the only ones who aren't being affected by these cyber terrorist attacks. All very convenient for them, and I just think even without the evidence, that somebody would be able to piece it together.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of was thinking a similar thing, but in a slightly different direction, where I was thinking to myself, it seems like Sandra Bullock really could have and would have been in a good situation if she just trusted the authorities. So I guess maybe I'm going in a different direction to you. I mean, here's me, clearly not conspiratorial at all, saying, just trust the authorities. But I mean, first of all, it was really obvious that guy who goes to pick her up was going to be a bad person. I don't know why she just trusts him.
No, that's the thing, right? So I imagine back in 1995, being a hacker isn't a common profession. And also, that drink that they both liked, that isn't that common either.
Yeah.
So surely alarm bells should be going off in her head. So this guy, he's a hacker. He's sitting right next to me on this random Mexican beach. He's British as well, which, is a bit weird. A bit weird too.
Yeah. And also, most British people are evil.
Yes,
in action films. You cannot forget that.
That is true. Most British people are evil, no doubt about it. So surely she should be thinking, this is a bit weird. I wonder if this guy isn't who he says he is.
Again, she's very trusting. Well, she really, really wanted the D. I'm sorry. That's it. That's the only explanation. Because let's be honest, he's a pretty attractive guy. He did give her his entire napkin when she was cold. Don't forget that. Didn't even tear it in half or anything.
No, that is very gentlemanly, isn't it? You don't get that nowadays, unfortunately. No, I need it in 1995 either, so credit to him. Yeah, so I guess, Sandra Bullock, bad move by you. Really stupid not to see that this guy wasn't, trying to be your boyfriend, was actually somebody who was sent to kill you. Or sent to, I mean, how can you not see that? Like a hacker. Who the fuck is a hacker in 1995? And who the fuck brings their laptop to a beach in Mexico in 1995? Nobody.
Yeah, I mean, bringing your laptop to a beach, that's crazy. One time I bought a notepad to a beach because I needed to do some schoolwork and we were on a holiday. And even then I felt I was like, this is going just terrible. There's sand everywhere.
I wasn't getting terrible because you realised you were working on a beach.
To be honest, I mean, I feel like beaches, they're kind of just a bit of a waste of time anyway, because it's you just sat there doing nothing. Well, I mean, I've just always felt like it's kind of, if you're at the beach, okay, fine. But I feel like you should do something while you're on the beach. That's always been my attitude. I feel like, just lying there, taking in the sun, you got to be more efficient. You got to lie there, taking the sun, and be doing something else.
What's the difference between me and you, Michael? Because that sounds like the best thing you could possibly do. Just lying there and not doing anything.
You are notoriously lazy, Luke. It is true. That's why, I mean, it rhymes. If you were a presidential candidate running against Donald Trump, your nickname would be Lazy Luke. Anyway, point being that, yes, I don't know why she trusts everyone, but the other thing is, by contrast, I just feel like she should have just stuck with the story and just absolutely insisted. And I feel like at one point, someone's got to, the situation is that people are going to have to, believe her eventually. And also, okay, here's another question. If she just says, because they say, if you keep saying that, they'll just never let you out of here. That's what her lawyer says. If you keep saying that, that you've had your identity stolen, they'll never let you out of here. But surely, eventually, with this hacking network in charge, they're going to do something which is going to make it really obvious what they've done. And at some point, it's going to be like, hey, have you, if she just keeps saying it, over and over again, she says, my name's Angela Bennett, I was a hacker, explains her whole situation, explains the whole story, and it's these gatekeeping guys, or whatever their name is, they're, these really bad dudes. And eventually, those two things would cross over. It'd be like, hey, this hacking, no, not necessarily hacking network, but all these things are going on with hacking, and also this gatekeeping community is going really good. Oh, and also, there's a woman who's been in jail for 3 months, and And she just keeps saying she won't change her testimony at all. She keeps insisting that her name is Angela Bennett. She was a hacker who met a British man who worked for the gatekeeping agency, who then stole her identity because she had the ability to take them down, blah, 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 blah. And someone will go, almost seems like those two things might be related. And that would just be my thoughts if I was Angela Bennett. I'm like, okay, if I go out there, I might die. Like, I've got this network who's able to control loads of stuff. I'm not really about that. But if I just stay in here, okay, sure, I have to go to prison for maybe a while because I'm going to, or in jail because I'm just going to constantly be telling them the truth and they might not believe it, whatever. But at least I can eventually just stop it by just saying these things over and over again. And even if, by the time that I get round to it, they've destroyed the world through their hacking shenanigans, at least I'll feel vindicated. That would be my thoughts if I was Angela Bennett.
Or she could, I don't know, tell a journalist, Americans love people who speak truth to power, so I'm sure the journalist will be on her side. I mean,
that is true, yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, she is white, so that helps. I definitely think that helps,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And here's the thing, like, I'm sure, she knows no one in Los Angeles, but I'm sure she has people who went to her high school.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's really convoluted. The fact that it's, like, just, nobody knows her, and that's why, they can't confirm that she's Angela Bennett. You just think, no, someone's got to know you. I mean, and that's another thing about it that's kind of getting to me. Oh, this is kind of maybe moving into computer territory. But
we're going to move into that next, so go on.
Okay, well, basically, the fact that you kind of get the impression she's supposed to be sort of this hermetic computer kind of person, because obviously nobody knows her, and then you're like, okay, yeah, that's why no one knows her. But then at the same time, she's also planning vacations to Cancun, I guess. Is it Cancun? She goes to?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Specifically? Yeah, okay, yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is clearly a sort of representation of the 4chan kind of person, like somebody who's a complete recluse, somebody who spends all their time indoors, and to a lesser extent...
Like a Bernie Sanders fan who's in 4chan.
I was going to say that, yeah. I was going to say, oh yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I was going to say to a lesser extent...
Oh, you got that reference?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Right,
but to a lesser extent, me... and maybe you, again, not like extreme, we're not extreme cases, but I'm we're both kind of introverts, I think, and we both kind of like to spend all our time inside watching films. That's not, obviously, like I say, that's not completely true. I've got university, you've got a job, we've got friends and stuff, but I would say we're probably more reclusive than your average person. And even I can say that, and I literally have already said it, I don't get that enthusiastic about the idea of organizing a flight to a tropical country to hang out on a beach. And again, I mean, you say it sounds like your idea of heaven, but I tell you what, if you go onto 4chan, and I'm telling you, nobody on 4chan is ever in a million years going to organize a flight to an exotic location. So you're supposed to believe on the one hand, she's this complete nerd recluse kind of person, and yet the other hand, she's the kind of person who is comfortable enough completely going out of her because that's the reason why people are recluses, because they don't really like leaving their comfort zone. But she's apparently completely fine just going on her own to these places, and then when she gets there, she does her hacking stuff anyway. I don't believe it.
Okay, right. I shall step in, and it could be these guys are just like, oh, she needs to be like somewhat normal for people to like her, the screenwriters obviously, but also I think there wasn't that culture like you speak of, like 4chan or all of that shit.
Yeah,
there wasn't that culture back then. There's literally like 5 people, like one of them called Cyberbot, chatting. That's a bit different to.
Yeah. But still, I don't know. I feel like the seeds would be there. I just feel like you don't go from traveling across the world to exotic locations to calling women sluts and asking them to send you their buttholes in the space of 20 years. Well, that's the thing.
She's not a man. She's a woman. So surely that has some impact.
No, yeah, that's true. I mean, as we all know, computing used to be a primarily female profession until during the Reagan years, when it began to switch to being considered a male-dominated thing, which also coincided with the rise of the nerd archetype in films such as Revenge of the Nerd and 16 Candles.
Yes, well, thank you.
I read about that in my book, The F Word. It's about feminism.
Okay, well, thank you for that history lesson, Michael. It's appreciated. But
it helps you explain why a woman would be a computer person, because she's just back in before the Reagan years. That's the time she's living in.
What would also explain it is they needed a woman in this movie to attract different audiences than just males, and it would have, of course, the bad guy can be a woman. It would be ridiculous. So
also, I mean, could you imagine that, like a story about like a computer nerd, and there's just like this James Bond kind of style bad evil woman, and she's just like trying to seduce her, just like and then just just lasts like 7 seconds, and he's just like, "You're so much hotter than the anime girls."
Yeah,
let's make it. I'm here for the remake.
Yes, okay, that'd be good. If you know what, if this movie was more culturally relevant than it is,
it would be more
that
fun.
Would be a good remake. That would be a funny remake. Anyway, so computers, Michael. We're on to computers. This is the reason why we're doing this movie 25 years ago. It's because of the computers. And the computers, Michael, they are dangerous. We know this now from watching this movie.
That's true.
Yeah, I just like how it's so naive. It's so innocent watching this movie deal with like computers and that. Like people, of course, I imagine this was something that was kind of a thing at the time. People were very concerned about putting their whole lives on computers. Like I knew someone when I went to America who I stayed with, who would not buy anything online. He was scared about his DLs and his credit card stuff being put online. So he didn't order anything from the internet. And
Wait, how old was he?
He was my age.
What a nerd!
I know, right?
Actually, no, it's funny. My uncle, no, not uncle. What am I about? My granddad. We went to see him just this weekend, and he's one of those people. First of all, he like reads the Telegraph and votes for Boris. Even though I feel like he reads the Telegraph, he should really be a Daily Mail reader, because he's like one of those people who just doesn't trust anything. He just doesn't trust the government. He doesn't trust scientists. He believes that everything is just all sneaky and out to get you. And he was saying like that he doesn't believe in contactless, because he's like, he literally said, you don't know where he said he didn't believe in contactless for charities, actually, because he said you don't know where the money's going. They might be secretly so it's like you can't pay by card for a charity and donate with your credit card to Comic Relief, because they might just be stealing the money.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I mean, calm down.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's the thing, like old people are afraid. So I'm just surprised that your friend's apparently an old person.
Yeah, well, it was surprising to me, but my friend was he was like 60, fucking 20-year-old white body. He was that kind of thing.
Brexit, yeah, maybe voted for Brexit.
Oh, really? Yeah, he was. Yes, he was. He was. He very much was.
But you are from the north, so
yeah.
I imagine even your babies are Brexit supporters. Like,
wow.
I've had it up to here with these bloody immigrants coming into this country. Whereas down south, as you know, there are no racists.
Yeah, of course, definitely not. Yeah, well, it's a different kind of racist in the south.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
yeah.
It's down south. It's like, there's some ethnics have moved across the street.
Exactly.
That's how everyone in the south sounds. As you know, everyone in the south is very posh.
Yeah, and looks down upon people who aren't like them. But yes, we'll move back onto computers. And so, yeah, essentially, your granddad, the views he was espousing, would be the views of many people at the time in the mid-90s, like, I don't trust those computers. Then this movie comes out, and, it just reaffirms people's belief there was probably like an anxiety about technology going on at the time in the mid-1990s. Look how they're taking over our lives. And I love the scene where Sandra Bullock throws the computer on the floor, and it cuts to it smashing on the floor. Like, these computers, they're dangerous, man. You don't want to mess with them. But that's the thing, like you mentioned before about how there's the guy in the resort who's basically saying, oh, well, you checked out, on Saturday, Angela Bennett, says out on Saturday, so you must have checked out on Saturday. That's just what the computer says. But in real life, obviously, if that happened, you'd be like, oh, well, there must have been a mistake, or the computer must have malfunctioned, because of course that can happen. And it's the same thing when she's at the hospital. It's like when she's saying, no, he didn't have diabetes, he didn't. The nurse wouldn't be like, no, he did. Look at the computer. He did.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? The famous and dystopian future of Computer Says No, portrayed in Little Britain.
Oh, yeah.
Computer says no.
Well, there's nothing I can do, because but people aren't actually like that. The nurse would have been like, shit. Oh, did we mess that up? Was there a computer malfunction? Like, she wouldn't have just said, that's what this movie implies. Well, people will blindly say what technology tells them. And of course, as in the modern day, we deal with technology every single day of our lives. We are very much, akin to things going wrong, things fucking up, and being like, well, that can't be right. Something must have gone wrong here. So yes, people aren't going to be slaves to whatever the computers say, which this movie kind of portrays. That's going to be the future. That's going to be the case. Nevertheless, even though I have been, kind of bashing this movie for, its stance on technology.
Being stupid.
Yeah, I have to say, it was better than I expected. I think you could argue that it's quite savvy movie for its time. There's a lot of stuff about like mainframes and IRL
Yeah, also the hacking, so like something that I've heard is that there's a bit of a trope in a lot of films where like hacking is just shown as somebody like just types really fast. Like I think it even happens in Fate of the Furious. You just get scenes like, oh, I'm typing as fast as I can. And it's like that's how hacking
That's the
works.
thing,
And this doesn't happen in this, does it? It doesn't really.
Yeah, you're right. In Fate of the Furious, you think that they're having a hack off to try and hack into the mainframe of the fucking nuclear submarine, and it's just like,
I love that.
That's the best thing. Things have gotten worse. Like I think this movie tried to do a realistic portrayal of hacking, and there's no real like rapidly fast typing from Sandra Bullock, which I'll give this movie credit for. But I think obviously you look at Fast and Furious, the rapid typing and saying all these really complicated words about hacking and so on. It's completely different to this, and so maybe writers were like, oh shit, well people aren't actually interested in realistic portrayals of hacking. It's because it's not that interesting, is it? It's really not.
No, it's not. Yeah.
So you gotta try your best to make it as exciting as possible. So you're saying these dramatic words, typing really quickly, and the quick camera cuts and all that, which this movie does, to be fair. But that's fine. It's the actual substance of what's going on, which is completely different in like Fast and Furious to this. So yeah, you have to give this movie credit, and yeah, to try and make it more realistic than it could have. I think that's the thing. I picked this movie because it was called The Net. It stars Sandra Bullock. It was released in 1995. So I kind of stereotyped this movie. I thought this is going to be bad. This is going to be.
You're a movie racist.
Yeah, this movie is going to be kind of ageist, if you will, like because it was released in '95 about computers. And again, it called The Net. Like nobody calls the internet The Net, but apparently back in the '90s, that's what everyone thought the internet was going to be called, like The Net, like the cool hip term for the internet. Didn't catch on, obviously. So yeah, I was ready for a really bad movie, but that's not really what I got in the technology department, at least. That is what I'm thinking when I was watching this. I was kind of disappointed. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. What I did like was the shots of her ordering pizza and booking airline tickets on the computer. To-do list. Like it has to flash that to show people, oh, you can do that now, or you can order pizza online. Yeah. Wow, look at that. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Again,
that's the maximum number of things you'll ever be able to do online. Yes. I mean, imagine nowadays, just like people. Oh, wouldn't it be great if you just got to transport someone from the 1990s just into now?
Yeah. So
and then you could talk to them about how annoying it is when you put the VCR in and the person before you didn't wind it back to the beginning before putting it away.
Incredibly. So that's the thing. I was disappointed with how bad the movie wasn't. If you get me, does that make me a bad person, Michael, for expecting a bad movie? You try to laugh at it, and it didn't turn out to be as bad as I thought.
Yeah, I think it does. It makes you a bad person, inside and out. I think it's important to bear in mind.
All right.
Almost as evil as Mr. Devlin himself.
Okay. And that's the thing. What this movie really is about, I think it's. I went on to see the trailer for this movie on YouTube just to see what the comments were like, and people were like, "Wow, this is such a prescient movie. It's so relevant now." And I was thinking, well, yeah, they're kind of right, because the movie, of course, is about the rise of technology, how it impacts our lives. Our concerns about privacy, and how you could have someone like Angela Bennett, who was kind of reverse catfished, I guess. That's the term catfished. Kind of revert. Well, yeah, he knows about her identity and he uses that to stalk her, obviously. Then tries to kill her. Our entire lives are recorded on, our computers. Everything is on like Facebook. And in 1995, obviously, this was shocking. People didn't like it, but now in the year of our Lord 2020, everyone's used to it.
Yeah, I mean nowadays it's like much less interesting because it's not exciting. It's just that people are depressed all the time.
Yeah,
so they couldn't have printed that. Just like that, the real version of the net would just be Sandra Bullock constantly refreshing her Twitter feed and going, "Why don't I have any retweets?" And then she gets a horrible message from some random man,
from a Bernie bro.
Just read. Why hasn't anyone liked my Warren tweet? And then someone just says, "Kill yourself." They wouldn't say cock. I don't know what I'd say. Kill yourself, you bloody liberal.
Yeah.
She'd go like, liberals were the first to get the wall, and she'd go, "Oh," and then that would be it. Just see the film over. It was like hackers.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's the thing. And it feels like we moved past it so much. Like in the mid '90s, it wasn't really an issue. I think back to what we were discussing, Michael, when you and me were at university. It's like, I think it was back in the... Yeah, I can't remember why we talked about it. We were talking about how, like, the same people who are incredibly susceptible to fake news, because this is probably back in 2016 when the fake news thing was happening.
Yeah.
and everybody was concerned about fake news, stories which simply aren't true, websites which tell lies and all of that. And we were saying like how the same people who fought for all that were the people in the 90s who were very concerned about the internet, very concerned about privacy and all that, and it just completely switched. Now those people who are incredibly concerned about the internet, apart from your granddad perhaps, he's still on the up and up, it seems.
Well, yeah, my other granddad too. My other granddad, he's against the kind of the advertising. He's the kind of person who'd be like, Facebook knows everything you're doing, and they use it to target advertising at you, which I guess is true.
Well, it is true. That's what the solution to their business model. So yeah, it is. Yeah, no, it is true.
But honestly, like I've always said that I actually find targeted advertising quite convenient. I will always appreciate target advertising because at that time I was writing a dissertation on Yemen, and I got an advertisement saying half price on books about the Middle East on Verso.com.
Yes.
I guess. And I was like, oh, thank you, targeted advertising. You saved me. You really did me a solid. And now whenever anyone attacks you, I'll say, you know what? Targeted advertising did me a solid.
Yeah.
And that will, and then I'll be like, oh, who needs privacy?
Yeah. That's the thing though. In the mid-90s, you had people who were probably like the baby boomers, if you will, who were in their mid-40s at the time, reasonable, middle of the road people. Who are like, oh, you can make up stuff on the internet, all of that, and then in 20...
Oh, yeah, it's the classic, Wikipedia is unreliable.
Yeah, Wikipedia is unreliable. You can't trust anything on Wikipedia. Remember that. And then in 2010, they're reading, like, weird Facebook posts from just weird news sites about fucking immigrants. And, it's crazy how so much has flipped. But, so I guess this movie's message is prescient, but it has been completely ignored by the people who advocated for its message the most in the 1990s. Which is ironic.
It is, yeah. It goes to show that it's like a snake. You can feed it your whole life and take care of it, but one day it might just bite you and eat your poisoned corpse. Okay.
You got anything else to say on technology? How it's portrayed in this movie?
No, not really. I mean, it's pretty... I guess it was a unique concept maybe for the time to have a kind of action film that was centered around... what did you call it? You called it it was like a tech-based action thriller.
Yeah, I think is a cyber action thriller. Yeah,
a cyber action thriller.
I don't think those two things go together because there was multiple moments in this movie where it's like it wants to be like a cyber thriller, so it wants to focus on technology and all that. But then there's so many scenes of like the fucking carousel scene where she's just running in the middle of a carousel and Devlin's trying to shoot her. Which was very risky for him to do because he could have just shot a child on a horse.
Oh, well, actually, that's... I assume you've seen Face Off.
Oh, yes, I have. Yes,
maybe
that's where they got the idea from. Oh, my God. That would be great. But, just random cuts to horses from the ground position. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? It's like, it's trying to be an action movie, and the action stuff has absolutely nothing to do with the computer stuff either. It's really disjointed movie. It's like half and half. One part is completely different to the other part. But I guess that's what had to happen, I guess, with these. If you're doing a movie about the internet, you need to make it, like a typical 1990s thriller movie with all these tropes going on.
Yeah, I mean, I was, that's the thing. It kind of did feel like, as I was watching it, kind of as I was going through the moment, as you were, thinking, it's not that bad. I was thinking to myself, it kind of almost feels like it's quite close to being just a generic action film. But it's just not quite getting it. It's trying, but it's not quite there. That's kind of how I felt as I was watching it.
Yeah, I agree. So have you got anything else to say on technology?
No, I said everything.
Okay, everything. Well, I'm just going to read a bit from an article from Collider. Yeah, so this article is from Matt Goldberg, who says, the net is still surprisingly relevant, but Jeremy Northam is not coming to kill you. Which is, of course, the guy who played Devlin in this movie. From April the 25th, 2017. Starts off by saying, although the rise in technological literacy has yielded slightly better entertainment, like Mr. Robot, for the most part, Hollywood still likes taking the shortcut of technology is dangerous, and audiences continue to respond with yawns. Yada, yada, yada. So he just describes, the net and the plot like we have done. And he continues, this is the last bit of the article, which I thought was good. What the net does convincingly is that it provides constant reminders of how fragile every system is when we rely on computers. If someone can change your medical record so that doctors will accidentally give you the wrong drugs, they can. If the system says you're now a felon with a history of prostitution, it can say that. The problem is that the movie has to bend over backwards to make these fearsome possibilities seem remotely likely. The largest problem is that there's a malevolent force, represented by Devlin, out to destroy Angela, played by Sandra Bullock, obviously. When it's revealed that he's working for an online security firm, it's fairly underwhelming. It's basically, what if the CEO of Norton Antivirus decided to take over the world and had people killed? Because essentially that's what Gatekeeper is, right? It's like the Norton Antivirus of its day. The net couches what could be realistic fears into a contrived mess, so that Angela is on the run and can't prove her identity because everyone she trusts ends up dead. Side note, the net takes us back to a time when studios thought Dennis Miller, who plays one of Angela's doomed pals, was charming. They were mistaken. Do you know about Dennis Miller, by the way?
No, tell me.
No, well, I referenced before about the Ruthless Marx thing, because he's a massive Trump supporter.
Oh, I see. That's funny.
Yes, he's very right wing. Does not like the Liberals. Thinks they're ruining America.
Just like David Wood.
Who's that?
Is it not James Wood? James Wood.
David
Wood's.
David
Wood's.
Yeah.
David Wood's a prominent Christian apologist.
Yes.
So easy mistake to make.
Yeah. It continues. I don't blame the net for not seeing the problems with technology coming down the line as much as it relies too heavily on 90s thriller tropes. I agree. It feels like it's based on a non-existent Michael Crichton novel that cautions about the power of technology, then always turns towards a paranoid thriller because that's the easy way to excite the audience. But it also faced a problem because it was capitalizing on an unknown. The internet was just starting to make itself a daily part of our lives. But that relies too heavily on the audience's ignorance. Yes. It constantly points out the terrible things that befall Angela could happen, so you should be terrified. But the thing is, you shouldn't be too terrified because, there is no grand conspiracy. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it's trying to really scare you, but again, there isn't someone like Devlin, there isn't a fucking gatekeepers thing going on in the background. We should be scared of technology, I guess, on its own. Like you don't need someone behind the scenes manipulating stuff. Really, I think is the point that they're trying to make, and I would agree with that point. Because it's just you gotta watch out. I guess
You gotta watch out.
Yeah, gotta watch out. And thankfully, we have learned lessons of 2016, and I think in the upcoming presidential election 2020, there shall be no more fake news, no more crazy stories on Facebook that people who are classified as baby boomers can click on and read about how hopefully Bernie Sanders is a communist socialist out to take all your money and kill all your friends and family.
I think I want to live in the best timeline where there's advertisements saying Joe Biden is a communist. It's just like people believe it.
That'll still happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. That would be great. I'd love to see Joe Biden just lose, and it's just like you just get all these women like, "I'm glad that I don't know why.
Yeah,
women.
It's probably going to be
anyone.
The stories are probably going to be about Joe Biden, about he's coming to take all your guns and all your money. But hopefully,
I mean that's the thing. Yeah,
because
Obama, Obozo was as neoliberal and centrist as they come. They're like, he's a Muslim communist who wants to destroy America because his dad was a Kenyan who hated imperialism.
No, Obama was a Kenyan.
Obama. Well, yeah, okay.
They don't give him. I'm saying they don't give him that much credit. Like his dad was a Kenyan. No, he was also a Kenyan.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing though. Like they were like, well, he tried to. He was gonna. He just didn't have the guts or something. That's what they say. So yes, it's the same thing's going to happen again. We just have to hope that the candidate that all these fake stories get picked about is the one which actually is the good candidate, which is of course Joseph Robinette Biden.
That's true. Yeah, Diamond Joe.
They call him that for a reason. What is the reason?
Yeah, because when he touches a woman inappropriately, he gets hard as diamonds.
Oh, that makes sense. So
I don't know.
So Michael, I just want to say one last thing, because you mentioned at the start of this review about Sandra Bullock, didn't you?
Yes.
And you said this was her first big role or something, which of course is flat out wrong.
I know. I didn't know. I just thought that might be why we're looking at it, because I know Sandra Bullock, I've heard she's pretty famous.
Yeah, she is pretty famous. Yeah, she is. But obviously, this Speed was her breakout thing with, what's he called?
Keanu Reeves.
That was it, Keanu Reeves. And I read a review from Roger Ebert about The Net, and this is, I think, quite good from him. He says, the rest of the movie consists of series of excuses. I kind of cut it in the middle of the article. For the director, Irvin Winkler, to place Sandra Bullock in situations well known to Hitchcock heroes. The computer programmer is, in essence, Hitchcock's favourite character. The innocent person wrongly accused, who stripped of her identity through the manipulation of computer files. Her apartment is taken away, she's given a police record, and she even gets involved in a deadly cat and mouse game on a merry-go-round, which you, absolutely love to see. But the stuff is so concocted, I had no business caring about it, but I did because of Sandra Bullock. How does she do that? She's very low-key. She's so natural, she seems to be remembering a scene rather than playing it. She has a warm smile. She never overacts. She creates the sensation that although a scene may seem absurd to us, it seems perfectly real to her, and we buy it. The computer
Someone loves Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, the computer stuff will interest anyone into such things. So yeah, I think the point is he was making, and I agree, that you could see very early on that Sandra Bullock, she had it. You know, she didn't have a lot of success under her belt. You know, she was just starting out. But you could tell she was going to be. You know, this movie isn't that famous. Nobody gives a shit about this movie. Why are we even talking about this movie? Because I thought it was going to be worse than it actually was. That's why. But yeah, again, Sandra Bullock, still, you can see her talent shine through. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's true. It should be called Sandra Bullock, The Net. Sandra Bullock's The Net. You know, that's how they should rebrand it. And suddenly, boom, second wind.
It's cultural and relevant, and we can do that sequel.
Oh yeah, I'm so looking forward to it.
For sure. So, what the hell was that?
That was a noise of discomfort at the prospect of watching the film again, or watching a sequel. That's like my noise.
Okay, so we kind of finished our talk about The Net, but you're going to talk to us about another 1995 film, Michael, about cyber terrorists, which is Hackers. So do you want to tell us a bit about Hackers and how it differs from The Net? Obviously released in the same year.
Well, I think one of the reasons why I said it was Sandra Bullock's debut is because this was Angelina Jolie's major debut, breakout film, which is exciting. It's goofier than
this is
The
Hackers,
Net. Yeah, the Hackers, because just to put it in perspective, there's this guy. One of the things I remember, there's this guy, and the only way he travelled around, like people will be travelling via a car, and even though there's like room for him on the car, he insists on grabbing onto the bumper of the car and riding behind on his skateboard. Because he's cool. I guess that's the main difference in The Net. Like, the Hackers are kind of nerds and introverted and stuff, or as Sandra Bullock and her friends. In this, the Hackers are like, it tries to make hacking cool. Also, the Hackers does have the terrible hacking thing with the fast typing. Honestly, I wish I had watched it actually before this, just so I could give a slightly more substantial thing. But the main takeaway is that it is just very... I suppose it's different. It's not as much into the whole, there's no real themes about technology being dangerous or anything like that was with this film. But I think the flip side is there probably is a bit more of the just not understanding technology with Hackers, because Hackers, it's not really trying to be as, well, I guess it is trying to be serious, but it's trying to be serious in such a way that it makes it like, you can't take it seriously because it's trying to be serious. So, overall, I would say it probably does have more so bad it's good value than The Net, but it probably is overall. The Net's like just a functional action film, whereas Hackers is kind of stupid.
Should we have done Hackers instead of this then?
I think it might have been funnier if we'd done Hackers instead of this, but I also think that then we couldn't have spoken about the portrayal of the internet. Although we could have probably just shoehorned that in anyway into the Hackers discussion. But, you know, we did it. And there's an old saying, I think you've heard it. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift. That's why it's called the present.
Yeah, no, you are. Oh, that's really nice, Michael. Really beautiful. Well done.
Yeah. There's another saying. Luke picked a shit film.
I did.
No, that's just anyway. It does remind me. Tell you what, though, actually, it reminds me of the time when obviously you picked a Roadhouse, and I was like, I don't know if this Roadhouse thing is gonna be able to completely hold it on its own. And then we did Next of Kin, and it was surprisingly good. So
well, Next of Kin wasn't that great. It was just the end scene when all the hillbillies get their guns. Yeah. It was just such a hype scene.
I love Next of Kin. It's my favorite film. So yeah. Anyway, all in all, 10 out of 10.
Okay, right, well, we're going to conclude now, Michael.
I just did.
All right, sorry.
That wasn't my actual conclusion.
If you want to conclude a bit more after, you can, but I'll go first. So anyway, The Net. You know, again, I have to conclude, I was expecting this to be worse than it was. It's, like you said, it's functional. I mean, it's still pretty shit. You know, it's boring. It's, you know, Sandra Bullock trying to run away from this British guy for a lot of the movie. But I was really looking forward to how awfully they were going to portray, you know, I guess, computers and internet culture back in the mid-90s. And you didn't really get that. And it actually has quite a nice point to make about how dangerous computers can be, even if it goes over the top. It goes very much over the top, but still, you know, it is something that, yes, of course, people should pay more attention to how technology isn't all roses. There are some thorns in there as well. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's a boring movie, and Sandra Bullock is the one really good thing about it. So what am I going to give this, Michael? Probably like a 4.5 out of 10. Yeah, just quite shit, but not shit enough to be in the okay, this is really bad tier. And I was expecting it to be in that tier, so credit to this movie, it surpassed my low expectations. So there you go, 4.5 out of 10 for me for The Net. How about you?
I feel like I'm going to do one of those weird things where I place a film right next to a film I did before it. And this is going to be a crazy one. Maybe it's a crazy one. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, basically like I already said, it feels like it's teetering on the edge of being a kind of competent action film, but then because it at the same time seems to not really want to fully be an action film, there's no like exciting shootout or anything like that. There's nothing really to grab your attention, and ultimately, yeah, it's not really goofy enough for me to recommend it in any real regard. And as I think about it, I think, you know what? It's not as good as Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I think. But I'm going to say it's better than Goal. So I was thinking about putting it near Bohemian Rhapsody, but as I thought about it, I thought, no, it's not great. I mean, it's not as good as Bohemian Rhapsody, and that's not really a nice thing to say. And then I was thinking all the other films I've got on here, I've got films like Aquaman and Ocean's 12, and I thought, I can actually kind of find those films fun. So now I was looking down, I was like, yeah, Fantastic Beasts, yeah, it's not as good as that, I guess, because Fantastic Beasts felt kind of like there was stuff going on. But yeah, let's say it's better than Goal. I mean, why not? I mean, is anyone going to have any issue with that?
Yeah, I am, because I gave Goal a 6 out of 10.
Really?
What did you give?
Maybe I gave Goal a high 3.
Oh my god.
To be honest, I don't know. I felt like maybe I was harsh on Goal, but for now, I mean, that's the thing. I'm kind of putting it near Goal because I don't really remember Goal, but I will say that the one directly below it is The Grinch. No. You know what, Luke? We're going to be nice to Goal. We're going to change our mind. I have one of my trademark changes of mind. It's better than Bad Boys and Justice League and Man of Steel and Mamma Mia, but it's worse than not necessarily Goal, but what I've got below Goal is The Grinch. And I think that The Net is worse than The Grinch.
Well, I don't think it was, because I give The Grinch a 4 out of 10. So,
well, you know what? I think The Grinch was just, I mean,
a masterpiece.
Jim Carrey is a marvel.
Yes.
He sure can animate a suit, as we'll see next week when we review Batman Forever. Nope, not really. We're reviewing Batman Forever much later in the year.
Yes. You know what? I also gave a 4.5 out of 10, Michael? Next of Kin. So, there you go. This movie, I didn't think we'd mention Next of Kin in this review, but we've done it twice now. So there you go.
Well done.
Anyway, no receipts. No receipts. We're going to have to wait quite a while to have another movie released, maybe even more than that because of the coronavirus. Hopefully it doesn't affect things too much. But anyway, Michael, what are we doing next week?
Next week, we are looking at a different film. No, we're looking at a film that's a completely different genre. Not quite a cyber action thriller or whatever. It's a romantic comedy, What Women Want, starring a Mr. Mel Gibson. And again, that is the 20th anniversary, not the 25th. So obviously we just need to keep going forward. We're doing 15th anniversary. I never leave my mistakes in, Luke. What I do is I like to cut my mistakes out and then still leave in you referencing my mistakes, so people are confused.
People think I'm mentally damaged.
All right, no, Luke, it's not a mistake. It is the 20th anniversary.
All right, sorry, Michael.
Brilliant.
Do you know what?
I want to do that at one point. At one point, I'm gonna have to trick you into saying something that sounds bad out of context, and just cut it. That would be great. Just need to work on it at some point when you least expect it.
Do you know what women want, Michael?
Mel Gibson.
They want Elizabeth Warren to be president.
That is true. That is what they want.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Do you know how a woman could become president, Michael? How they could act? They need to act like Sandra Bullock does in this movie.
That is true, yeah.
So anyway, thank you for listening. We have been selecting and reflecting on The Net, a movie which I have to admit wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, which ultimately was disappointing. Join us next week for What Women Want. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.